All right, we are live with another live stream. We're back from our little break that we had.
It was a pretty long break, right?
Yeah, from live streaming, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, we just released a video on our Crazy Rich Asians review, so you're going to check that out if you want. But before that, we have a very special guest. We have Brian McWilliams of Lions of Liberty. We are very excited to have you.
Yeah, what's up? Good to be on the show, guys. I am excited. Actually, by the way, I tried to I started watching. I only got about 3 minutes in though, then I ran out of time. You're watching your review of Crazy Rich Asians because I wanted to talk about that a little bit on the show today to see what you thought, what were your thoughts, and then also just because I was taking notice of things, couple different topics. Number one is it's interesting that we've got people seem like you can make all the fun of whites you want. And I think Asians are now in that category too, where it's you're no longer considered a protected people. It's now you can make fun of Asians all you want. Crazy, you never make a movie called Crazy Rich Blacks. Never be made, right? You never get away with it. And I was thinking that too, there's those two different movies come out. The Klansman one from what's his face? Spike Lee?
Spike Lee, yeah, and Jordan Peele who produced it.
Yeah, and then also the one with the movie, which seems like the whole movie is just about a black dude doing a white dude's voice, right? And that's the core concept of the movie. And you go, this is interesting because you'd never be able to do the opposite. So yeah, anyway, I was curious.
No, that's true because a lot of the, I guess the white power or any of those type of movies, yeah, they're considered those are bad, but everything else, yeah, you're right. It's just Crazy Rich Asians. Oh, this is great. Romantic comedy is awesome.
Exactly, because it's and I'm looking at that compared to now Harvard discriminating against Asians. It's the harder you work, the less opportunity you actually get your way because you bypass the discrimination guidelines somehow.
Yeah, diversity, but only if it's diversity we like.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Once you get too successful, then your diversity doesn't matter anymore. It's just got to be someone else's diversity.
There was a point actually where Asians were becoming the new white, they're too
successful.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, totally. That's exactly what's happening with, Harvard and Yale and the discrimination stuff, where it's unless you have a perfect SAT score, now they're saying we just have too many Asian applicants that their grades are too good. All their scores are great, so we have to discriminate against them. So it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, and some people would consider that racist.
I would.
Yeah.
But I mean, well, yeah, I mean, you bring in someone specifically because we need that diversity quota, not because they're smart or it'll fit what we need for whatever we're doing or whatever. But yeah, it's just it's kind of it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's all about the optics of it. It's we're supposed to be ignoring people's skin color, and yet we're basically doing this just to say, look, we have this many people of this color at this school. It's oh, great. How many people ideologically of thought do you have at that school that might vary and actually make for an interesting learning environment?
So have you seen Crazy Rich Asians yet or not?
I have not. I do want to see it, but I was reading some reviews on it and basically was saying it's pretty much a paint by the numbers rom-com, but that it was, I guess notable because the last all Asian cast movie that was mainstream was Joy Luck Club, whatever, 25 years ago. And that people, and again, some of the chatter saying it's kind of Black Panther-ish and that, it's a milestone thing, which even with Black Panther, I don't know about you guys, if you like Black Panther or not. I liked it. Thought it was a really good movie. But if they hadn't gone at it, if I hadn't heard it 75 times that it was an all black cast, with the exception of the guy who was in The Hobbit, I wouldn't have really noted it. I just would have what a good movie. That was a lot of fun. Which just isn't that what we should want rather than going in and being you have to take note that this is all black, Yeah. If we really want to make progress, we should try to move beyond that.
If anything, it was Marvel's best attempt at creating a good villain because was it Killmonger?
He was really good.
Yeah, of all the villains, he and Thanos were really the two that you remember after the movie's over. You don't really remember anything else. Just that was Michael B. Jordan was great. And all the other villains are oh, want to take over the world. Boo. We've heard that a million times,
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
But yeah, speaking of the Marvel and all that, did you see Infinity War and what do you think about it?
So I saw Infinity War. I thought it was, it was pretty good. I don't want to go crazy spoilers. I guess it's been out for a while, but yeah, I was a little surprised how it ended up, because I didn't really read any of those comics growing up. Like I read X-Men, but I didn't get into too much of the Avengers or any of that. So, what was this? Was a dog barking outside. Apologies. Just trying to keep it a little cooler in the studio. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was overall a good movie, but it was a little, I don't know. I mean, I was surprised it was a movie that was, they market it towards kids so much, and then they end up just brutally murdering so many people. But overall, I liked it.
I think it was better. It was better handled than what is it? Like Age of Ultron or
Age of Ultron was awful. Which, speaking of Ultron, what a bitch he was in Infinity War. He just got his ass kicked all over the place. It's like you have a stone in your head, an Infinity Stone. Mm-hmm. Why are you not better at fighting?
Yeah, it kind of makes that movie like completely obsolete now. You watch it, and he's all trying to act like he's all powerful and everything. It's like you're like nothing.
Yeah,
disappointing.
Yeah,
he really was. He was a big letdown to all of us.
Yeah, and I honestly thought that the first Avengers was boring, and Age of Ultron, I was just, I don't really care.
Yeah, I mean, I will say the Avengers movies as a whole, I like, because they do have a good amount of libertarian values placed in them, which I like. Like if you're watching those movies, they, from the first one on, I think, they had the fighting back against the surveillance state and the government having this ability to track down and take out, the bad men without any due process. So I'll give them credit for the values that they're pushing in there, and I always wonder this, is it like subconscious that these things work in there because they're being made by these rabid progressives. And then you still have some of the content in there. You're like, well, at some level they understand what liberty is.
Well, you're not like having read the comics, so obviously we don't know the history of any of this stuff. But in terms of just the movie, Civil War, did you think it was kind of weird that Tony Stark took the government position?
Yeah, as a guy that you think would be anti-government, entrepreneurial, and never wants anybody telling him what to do. I did think that was really odd that he took that side. And Captain America was the guy that's like going anti-big government, because you'd think he would be part of the machine, especially as this super soldier character.
Well, I think they made it like that because I guess a lot of things have happened to Tony to make him, I guess, change his mind, or at least have some kind of change of heart.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe
it may be well, even then it's like you gotta say maybe something along the lines, because the bad guys had gotten his weapons, and so he wants to make sure that they don't get him. But even then, as we've seen time and time again with our own government, the more weapons that the government has, the more they end up in the bad guys' hands anyway. Like with Al Qaeda or with the Syrian rebels right now, and creating ISIS and arming all these people. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they thought deep enough into it, because it certainly does seem like an odd choice, and it's hard to excuse it no matter which way of the equation you kind of take in regards to Tony.
Okay, so what about this new defense budget? I believe that Trump just signed. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that it's just, it's insane. Number one, I mean, he keeps wanting to increase the budgets, despite the fact that we have the biggest budget already. We all know that, and I think the thing that really bothered me too was that he wants to increase the military budget, but then he also, while he's increasing the military budget and while Congress is being complicit in increasing the military budget, he also wants to completely ignore any of the restrictions that Congress has placed on him. Like, if you guys hear about this stuff with, like, in regards to the Yemen war, where we're back in the Saudis, Congress had tried to place some restrictions on how much funding or how much support we could give, or the president could acknowledge without Congress getting involved. And he basically was like, I'm going to ignore all that. And now Congress is like, cool. All right, well, here's, $200 billion more towards the military budget.
Isn't that funny though, that, all the Democrats and even a lot of the Republicans are like, we hate Donald Trump and we want to impeach him. And then when it comes to this, they're like, whatever.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nobody hears about this. Like, nobody talks about it.
Well, not only that, there hardly anyone in Congress tries to combat him about any of that.
Well, anything that has to do with foreign policy, they don't really.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And it's like Rand Paul is the one you'd hope would be able to stand up against him, but Rand now seems to be complicit with almost everything Trump does. He's rolled over on Kavanaugh too. He's not going to oppose Kavanaugh's Supreme Court. And he was just over in Russia, which I'm fine with the Russia stuff, because I'd rather have us talking and having a dialogue with a nuclear armed entity,
right?
rather than just throwing slings and arrows at them all the time or sanctioning the shit out of them. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like anybody's standing up to him. And when they do stand up to him, it's for all the wrong reasons. Like you're saying, it's for some social media bullshit or something he said. Or you got CNN, which, there was some crazy stat I was reading. They had 425 Stormy Daniels mentions and 0 mentions of the Yemen war. 0. So where are your priorities at?
Yeah. I think they just now mentioned the Yemen war, but that was, obviously, Stormy Daniels 1,000 times or whatever, how many times they mentioned her.
Right. And actually, it was probably they probably only mentioned it because Trump was saying that he wants to ignore some of the restrictions. So now they're like, well, now we got to talk about it because now it's Trump doing something shitty, and we can get him on. They don't really give a damn if he, about the war that's been going on. Like they can give 2 shits.
Yeah, they'll kind of like snake their way with it because obviously if they get too into it, then Obama's going to come up and they're like, we don't want that guy coming up in a negative way. So we're going to make it somehow. Because look, when Donald Trump became president, and even when he was running for president, he was saying all this stuff about, we need to get the troops out. We're spending way too much money, too much time. Why are we there? What's going on? Whatever. And then once he becomes president, obviously, everything changes. And I don't know whether he actually feels this way or someone's, in his ear, like, hey, if you do this, something bad's going to happen. Or I don't know. Like, is that
because Obama was the same way? All these presidents are. George W. Bush was the same. Yeah. They run on this platform of, non-interventionalism. And it's always the same thing because they know that's what Americans really want. And then they get in there and I don't know if they've got nudie pictures. I don't know if maybe the dossier, the pissing on the prostitutes is true. I don't know. Maybe they find it out. But yeah, when they get in there, they always just change the story and they always go along with the military industrial complex every single time. I mean, the one man who would have been Ron Paul. And, and then see, that's where, you got to wonder, like, nobody tried. They keep saying like Trump, like unprecedented amount of hate for Trump, right? No one's tried to kill him yet. I mean, Reagan was shot, Theodore Roosevelt was shot, JFK was shot. What? No one's taking shots at Trump, which makes you think all this outrage is manufactured. And we'd probably see the assassination attempt happen if he actually did try to reign in the war state. Because then the people that want you dead as president are probably going to try to do something about it. I'm throwing out crazy conspiracy theories now, but
Yeah, I mean, look at Hillary Clinton and all the all the Clinton stuff.
That's a good point, though. I feel like if they were really upset with his policies to the point that they were like radicalized, they would try to do something more, right?
Yeah, there's so much money at stake, and and they have a perfect scenario where you've got all this hate for Donald Trump, and it would be so easy to find some random nutball to peg it on, and then just there you go, you got your CIA coup taken care of, and then you got Mike Pence in there.
Yeah, that's who we want as president, right? Mike Pence. Super conservative. That's what I want.
Yeah, and that's like, people talk about impeaching Trump. I'm like, all right, I mean, I get it, but you want, why? That's who you want? You want Pence to be coming up after him? Why? In what world would that make sense to anybody? You've got to, Trump, say what you will about him. I mean, there's certain things I like about him. I like the deregulation he's doing. I like the tax cuts. He is funny. I was giving that. He's funny as hell. Funniest president of my lifetime. But, and also like openly supportive of gay marriage. That's the first time ever any president's been openly supportive of gay marriage going into office. So yeah, why would you want to get rid of the guy? And while the terror stuff is horrible, the ongoing war stuff is atrocious. I can't say that he has been any worse than any other president during my lifetime. And in a lot of ways, he's better than the presidents that I've experienced during my life.
Oh, how dare you!
Well, who do you compare him against? Which scale do you want to put him on? Against Obama? Well, Obama was awful, overseeing the biggest spying operation domestically, expanding the war state, drone bombing, murdering Americans. Awful. The Bush years were atrocious. I guess maybe you could say Clinton, but even Clinton, overseeing the largest increase in prison populations, the drug war escalation, 3 strikes rule, putting generations of black people in jail, fighting against gay marriage, all atrocious, all terrible. They're all horrible people.
Speaking of, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I like how we're talking about like serious stuff, like foreign policy and everything, and presidents, and then the chat is talking about Hooters. Really, guys?
Oh, yeah. Well, that doesn't surprise me, though, because I guess Hooters is failing, right?
Yeah,
And,
apparently it's like going out of business or something, right?
well,
really?
in fact, you're talking to a former Hooters employee.
Ooh.
Oh, really?
How was it like working there?
I was there. I worked at Hooters for like 2 years in college. I was a cook.
Okay.
How was it like working there?
It was awesome, man. Yeah, if you're being perfectly honest, what other place do you want to work at if you're a single guy in college?
That's true.
Wait, did you say you were a cook or?
I was a cook. Yeah, so I was.
Okay. How's the food? I've never been there.
It's actually surprisingly good. Like at least the one I was at, because it was like pre-made kind of pulled pork stuff, which is good. The wings were the worst thing on the menu, actually.
Oh, really? That's what the people in the chat are talking about.
Yeah, the wings are terrible because they bread them so much that all you're doing is eating like this sopping mouthful of like bread sauce. It's disgusting. But it was fun working there. But the thing is, Hooters didn't update any of their outfits, and like that look. I mean, I'm not saying that's the sole reason they're filling, but what guy is like, oh, I just want a girl in a white tank top and pull up fluffy socks and sheer leggings. Like no one's jerking off to that shit.
I guess not nowadays. You know, they have the internet.
Yeah, I guess maybe they just need to redo their outfits, and then maybe then they'll be doing well.
Well, I'd say you could do worse. And I also saw the VMAs is on, right? Yeah, why would you guys book this during the VMAs? We're not going to get any viewers. Who's going to watch?
I didn't even know that was going on.
I didn't know that either.
I didn't either until I just looked at Twitter and I was like, oh. There's going to be some jerk off that's going to make a speech on at the VMAs. It's going to piss me off for 2 days. I guarantee it.
Yeah, that'll be trending on Twitter for a little bit. And
yeah, something about Trump. Something about how Trump. We're doing amazing things for women and diversity and all that. I mean, it sounds terrible that you say it like that, but the way they're doing it is it's not because they're just doing it just to do it, not that they actually give a shit.
Right, and without any research into it, like half the stuff people say they have no actual clue what they're talking about, and then they just go off on tangents. And I don't know, have you guys been watching the back and forth between Tom Woods and Eric July and Talib?
Oh yeah,
Talib Kweli.
You were in it a little bit.
Yeah. Like I think it started like sometime in the end of last week, right?
Yeah, this was on like Friday afternoon.
Yeah, and so we
go on like all weekend. It just won't stop.
Yeah, so
I just looked at it like 1 minute ago.
Yeah, we stopped.
They're still going.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah. Mostly Eric and Talib though. Tom kind of slowed down a little bit, but we stopped going on social media the week for this past weekend, and then we went back on. And we're like, Jesus Christ, we're still on. Holy fuck, man.
Do you guys try to do that regularly? Is that like or is this like a first time we're gonna see how it goes and if the world leaves us behind type of thing?
I don't know if you watched Dave Rubin, but he was talking about doing breaks from social media, and we tried it the weekend before that. And then we just were like, well, a lot of the reasons why we end up ignoring responsibilities that we're supposed to get done is due to social media. So we just kind of delete it for a while, you know.
So how productive were you? Did you like repaint the house, adopt a cat?
Well,
we were really productive.
Well, when we first did it, it was when we were.
Well, that was during our trip. That was good because we were able to experience it, you know,
right?
Without, checking our phone every 5 minutes.
Yeah, so bad.
That was good. I mean, when I was in Japan recently, like I went on a late honeymoon, and I was in Japan for a week, and that was nice because you couldn't use your phone most places. You know, you could check the time. That was about it. So it was nice getting that little break, and then like maybe an hour you log in the Wi-Fi at the hotel and download, and then that's it. That's if I had more control over myself, that's probably what I would do ideally. 1 hour.
How did you enjoy Japan? Was it the first time you've been there, or was it like?
Yeah. Oh, and what part did you go to?
So I went to we went to Tokyo. We went to the Ginza district. Yeah, right, like Harajuku, Ginza, not Shibuya.
Shibuya.
Yeah, Shibuya, yeah. And it was awesome. I really liked it. I also went around a couple of the places. We went to Mount Fuji just for a night. That was cool. Did like the traditional Japanese bath, which is nice, like a hot spring thing.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, that was really cool. And then we also went to, God, I'm blanking on it. You'd think I'd remember these things. Oh, Tokyo, and we went to Kyoto. And Kyoto I like because it was a little bit more quaint than Tokyo was. You know, it's kind of like the little bit more of the smaller town feel. There's like a shrine on every corner, which is really cool. So yeah, it was pretty awesome. The one thing that was super interesting though is that they have no trash cans anywhere. Like, have you guys been there before?
Really? No, my brother lives there, but I've never been yet.
Okay, you should definitely go for a visit. for me, it wasn't as expensive as I think other people because LA is so expensive. That's where I live. But yeah, if you go, there's no trash cans. And I asked somebody because it was so annoying when you don't realize, there's also a million vending machines, right? So you're like, you get your drinks from the vending machine, then you finish it, and you're just around, and you're like, sneak open someone's door of the restaurant, throw it in. So the reasoning was that they said because of all the vending machines, they would just get piles of trash that would go over top of the actual trash cans, and they'd like spill on the sides and whatever, and it would just be a mess. So they go, instead of increasing the amount of trash pickups, what we're going to do is just get rid of the trash cans, and people will just carry it, put it in their pockets, or carry it to whenever they get home. And I don't know if that would work here. I think in America, probably people would just throw their shit on the sidewalk. Yeah. But in Japan, well, Japan, like, because like the honor system, they don't want to lose face by being the one dick who's throwing their shit on the ground, so they just carry it home, throw it out. I also was in China too, by the way, and China's very capitalist country. I mean, don't get me wrong, the communist systems in place and the censorship, the jailing and the intimidation of journalists, that's some shit. But on a ground level, insanely capitalist. Like, they leave you alone for the most part. You can sell stuff out of your house. They don't even enforcibly tax people. They do like incentives for restaurants that do scratch off games on the receipts. Because that way you ask for a receipt, and if you ask for a receipt, then there's a record of you spending money there. So then the government can tax it, as opposed to paying cash. Wow.
So it seems like the capitalism is seeping through.
I would say most definitely. Yeah.
What part of China were you at?
So I was there for the Olympics back in 2008. So I went to Beijing, went to Shanghai for a night, and I went to Xi'an, which is where one of my ex-girlfriends is from. So that's why I was over there.
So do you know any Japanese and or Chinese, like, before you went to any of these places, or did you just kind of get by using English, or?
So I learned some Chinese, and I can still speak a little bit of Chinese, but Japanese, I tried to learn some of the phrases just to get around, like, please, thank you, can I have the bill, which is a kanjo onegaishimasu. There you go. That's for you guys. So yeah, but I learned like that kind of stuff. Excuse me was a big one. Like, I remember I made sure to learn that before I went to China, because there's like throngs of people. And I remember the first time I was I was like walking around, I bumped into somebody, and oh god, I'm blanking on it. Oh, doibuchi. That's how you say excuse me. And the guy was like, oh, it's like blown away that like a white guy would know his language. But yeah, I always try to learn a little bit, just like a few phrases, because I think more than anything, it's just kind of a respect thing too. If you show people you want to embrace their culture and engage with them, then people are going to be nicer to you.
That's why I'm afraid to go to. I don't know why it's echoing. I'm afraid to go to China because I don't know any Chinese, but I know some Japanese because I studied Japanese for 8 years. But
oh, okay, nice.
But yeah, so I guess that's the only hesitant part of me that doesn't want to go to China, because I'm like afraid to.
I mean, there's more people now. I mean, if you go to Shanghai or Beijing, I think you'll probably be okay, because enough people that are younger speak English. Like when I was there were a decent number of people that spoke English, and you can still kind of get around. Because also the signs aren't in pinyin or they aren't in the characters, so they're spelled out so you can read them as in English. And then Shanghai or Xi'an was harder though. Hardly anybody in Xi'an spoke any English at all, and also they were slightly racist against me because they had.
Oh really?
Yeah. They had an entrance to the shrines, and you could go in one entrance if you were Chinese. And I don't know if it's just me or all foreigners, but then there was like the second entrance that wasn't as good that they made me go through. And I was there with my girlfriend and her aunt. So it was like the two of them, and they could go through the gate, and they made me walk down. And I got to go through the other gate.
Oh that's how it is in Thailand too. I visited a long time ago, like in 2011, but they thought that I was Thai, so they let me go through like the other entrance and pay like a different price or whatever. But then when they realized I couldn't speak Thai, they were like, "Wait a minute, you have to like go over here because you're not Thai." I'm like, great. I think that's just an Asian thing.
Maybe, yeah. Say I haven't encountered that anywhere else, but then again, I've only been to Japan, China, and like Canada and Mexico. Oh, I've been to Ireland too, I guess. But yeah, it's like I'd like to do more world travel, like go to Germany. Like, have you guys traveled a lot, or just?
Oh, not really.
No.
No.
Yeah.
I think the most we've traveled is what, Colorado, Arizona.
Just around the United States. I've been to Asia and Canada, but I don't know. Like, does Canada even count now?
It doesn't. I'd say no. Unless you go to maybe like Quebec or Montreal, you know, someplace where it's like the French Canadians, maybe then it'll count. But if they're the regular English Canadians, I say no.
Yeah, I just went to Niagara Falls. It's like barely, like just like right over the border.
Oh yeah, I've been there. I've had some stories from Niagara Falls. It's because you go there. I went to Penn State, so it was like a 5-hour drive up, and then you'd go drink at 18 or 19. Was it 19? Anyway, it's a beautiful world when you can just get hammered underage in public at that time.
So you drove 5 hours so you could drink because you were 18, and obviously you can't drink here because you're 20. You know,
yes, exactly. Well worth the drive.
Oh.
Well, you can go to bars and stuff, and you don't have to have a fake ID.
Oh, so, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, exactly. Although I've also had to drive 2 hours before because, you know, like different states have different liquor laws and when you can buy booze. Right. And Pennsylvania at the time had a no alcohol sales on Sunday law, which is so stupid, goddamn Quakers. So we'd have to drive across the border into another neighboring state that would sell alcohol on Sundays. And one time it was I was in a fraternity too. So we had a formal dance. And nobody had booze for the dance, so we were like, "Oh shit!" So we had to drive into like Maryland to buy booze for that evening.
That's a long drive. Like I used to live in Pennsylvania, and the liquor laws just are so annoying. Like you can't buy wine and beer at the same store.
Yeah,
like, I don't understand. You can't buy them at grocery stores.
Yeah, Florida's the same. My parents live there now, and they'll have a grocery store that has a door into the liquor store, but you can't have them like be joined together. Like they can't officially be joined. It makes no sense. It's so stupid. But it's like because the state still owns the liquor stores. That's why they want to make that money. It's all about state revenue.
I feel like alcohol in general is like the greatest example of how like the state like messes everything up.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like first starting with prohibition, and then if you translate that into the drug war, it's like, well, obviously this isn't going to work because it didn't work before, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you'd think they seem to never learn in that regard, though. And it's like, you know, even if they get weed legalized, then you're still just going to have the drug war continue in other ways, unless we go like down the Portugal route or who else is legalized or decriminalized all of it? Norway, maybe, or Sweden? One of the two of them also, but I know Portugal at least has done it. Where do you see like addiction rates drop and like overdose rates drop? Like right now, Trump was just saying like Congress has done great on the opioid crisis, and you're like, maybe if you just legalize and decriminalize heroin, you're going to see all these people go get help, go get treatment, get legal options to use to wean themselves off of the shit rather than just ODing and trying to buy, heroin off the street when their prescription runs out.
Yeah, I feel like that's the logical explanation, but I don't know if do you think people actually think that it helps to criminalize these things, or do you think that they just have some other motive?
I think it's probably both. I think that some people do believe that by outlawing something you can stop it, even though it has been proven to never work. Even with murder, it doesn't work. And I think that other people do, without a doubt, have that feeling of like it's like a moral superiority thing where they just, whether it's religious, whether it's whatever it is, they just want to, if it's something they don't like, they want to do whatever they can to stop it. So instead of let people be free, live their lives if they're not directly harming you type of thing. It's like a control issue. It's like if they don't enjoy it as much as you do, nobody should, kind of thing. And I think you see a lot of that happening.
Well, I think it was Ron Paul or somebody said, do you think if they just legalized all the drugs that everyone just could become a drug addict?
Yeah. He said that during the debate. And I got a good response too. He was right. It's like, you're not going to go out and do heroin tomorrow. Well, maybe you would. I don't know.
Yeah.
But at least if you did, then, when people find you, they'd be like, oh, God, this guy's ODing on heroin. Well, we know we can take him right down the street to the clinic and they'll help him out. And then he'll be able to go back to his job and everyday life and won't be thrown into prison and have a permanent black mark on his record and not be able to get hired anywhere.
Yeah, there you go.
That's the other thing, too. Like, all this shit just bleeds. Like, people don't understand how much the drug war just destroys the country. It's like that also, and not to excuse, child rapists, but the drug war turning people into felons, and also like people who get on the registry for like sex offenders, that is like, you'll have people on there that are like the Romeo and Juliet type of thing, where it's like the boy's 17 and the girl's 16 kind of thing. And because of the laws, the way they work out, like that's technically statutory rape or something. And you'll have that mark on you forever. You can't get rid of it. You can't, like, good luck getting a job. Same thing with the drug lord. Good luck ever getting a job again. And people just don't understand, like, these things that are set with the best intentions. I mean, FOSTA is another example. The Fighting Online Sex Trafficking Act. You guys familiar with that one? See, that's the one they basically passed this bill. This is why like Backpages.com shut down and Craigslist ads shut down. So FOSTA, the reason they put it through was they said it was to protect and stop sex trafficking, primarily of like minors, which, you know, I guess it was online. Like some of the Craigslist links, some of the Backpage links could have gone to these links. And while, even though it's probably 0.01% of those links were going to children that were being abused, what happened is they banned all sex work from being advertised online. So now, instead of these women who are able to safely have transactions online and, you know, kind of handle it that way, now they basically were forced to go back to having a John on the street or walking around in your bikini at 1 a.m. kind of stuff. So it has like these negative ramifications that people don't think about. Meanwhile, it's not stopping sex trafficking. You know, if people want to sex traffic you, they're going to sex traffic you. And if you're in foster care, which is where almost all the sex traffic victims come from, then, you know, they're going to take advantage of you no matter what, whether or not you can advertise it online or not. I mean, if you want to have sex with a 12-year-old, you're probably going to, I mean, anyway, maybe we should go on a different topic.
I just feel like whenever you outlaw something, a black market is created, and then all these consequences that people don't think of happen. And like people who are going to do these things, like the evil things that they're trying to prevent, are going to do them anyway. So they're going to find a way.
Yeah, like, most definitely. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just, you know, people who, it's funny because you'll have people that are fighting against illegal or making abortion illegal, right? And they're saying that, and they use the same rationale that we do, which is say, yeah, if you actually think you're going to stop people from getting abortions by making it illegal, you're crazy. All you're going to do is make it more dangerous. But then they'll also say, well, but we shouldn't legalize drugs. You know, and it's like there's a huge mental disconnect between them.
Right.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, they just need to apply the same logic in every instance. Then.
Yeah. There's an unbelievable amount of very specific logic connections where people, like you're saying, people overlook the base logic, just extending it to any of the other topics. No, that's then morally, it's like their minds can't accept it. That's when the disconnect happens so often.
So to kind of completely go off topic, but so obviously with all this Twitter stuff has been going on with people getting banned, you know, like Alex Jones, Anthony Cumia, and some other people as well. What are your thoughts on all that's going on so far?
Well, a couple of different takes on it. Number one, I am very hesitant to, like, I'm already kind of pulling back from Twitter because of this, because it just kind of pissed me off to the point where, you know, we always tell people as libertarians, vote with your dollars, you know, vote with your attention. And it's, you know, it's a little bit hard because you build up a social platform, and, you know, because we read our Lions of Liberty podcast, so we've got some social media clout. So it's tough to pull back because people are still using it. But I find myself really, like, I've cut down my interaction with the platform quite a bit. And because you see not just the shadow banning, not just the outright banning of people that have a differing opinion from the social mob, but I think also just because you see too much like the James Gunn stuff happening where, you know, what's the risk reward of being on Twitter now? And especially as somebody who does stand up and makes jokes and, you know, and writes, to get on there and now say, okay, I have 5,000 or whatever tweets. Is one of those tweets going to come back and haunt me now? Is it going to cost me a job? Is it going to cost me a future job? You know, you don't know what's going to happen to this stuff. So in regards to that, that's what my personal take on it. And then in regards to what's actually happening, I mean, I'm almost rooting for it to get much worse. And the reasoning for that is that I think it's going to take a lot more of it happening to wake people up to the fact that having any sort of censorship like this and having this mentality where you want to attack people and use their words completely out of context against them and demonize them, it's got to stop, you know, and maybe it's going to be a good thing that the conservatives have tried to do this and back to the left now. Maybe it's not. I mean, I still think it's horrible either way, but I'm hoping that it's going to reach such a point where people are going to be like, this is just fucking mad. We've got to draw a line in the sand and say no more. You know, we've got to maybe move on and grow up, start interacting again. I mean, what's your take on it?
Like, well, with the James Gunn thing, I mean, that's kind of a weird issue because, yeah, they're going. I mean, it's like, well, why did he get hired in the first place? Then, like, did Disney just not even give a shit about his Twitter? But then, you know, like with Mike Cernovich and whoever else was bringing them up, they're like, oh fuck, now we gotta do something. So, you know, even though it's people we don't like, but you know, it's creating all this havoc. So I guess we'll have to do something about it. But then at the same time, I'm just like, you know, that, you know, I don't know, it's Twitter, but it's kind of iffy because you do see some tweets where you kind of think that's kind of, you know, that's bordering on, you know, illegal, you know, criminal behavior. But then, you know,
then it's just a thought. So then it's like, where's the line go? And then it's also like, why would you even put that out there? Right.
Well, it's like, well, half the time it's like, especially some of the James Gunn stuff, it's, you know, humor is so absolutely subjective to people too, where someone's humor, like, you know, you got a Norm Macdonald who's got the driest sense of humor in the world. Now, Norm, his Twitter feed is just breaking down, like live tweeting golf tournaments. But, you know, his sense of humor is super dry. Or like an Anthony Jeselnik who is intentionally horrible. Like his sense of humor is just evil and horrible, and that's why he's so funny. But, you know, when you've got that subjectivity involved, it's hard to say, like, you know, and especially when you see these things get taken out of context so often. You know, one tweet out of 4 tweets or one tweet in a conversation or just a random thought thrown out there, you can take that and hold it up as this shining beacon of why someone's a huge piece of shit, but it doesn't mean it's true. But what happens in this media society we have now with the nonstop cycle, you've got it thrown out there. Everybody immediately goes, oh my Jesus. You know, Disney moves to stem the bleeding. And then the next day, Trump says something else and everybody's just on to the next thing. So even by the time you correct it and say, by the way, full disclosure, this tweet was a response to another one, it was sarcastic type of thing, then it's, you know, it's too late. Nobody cares anymore. The impact has been made and the impression's been made, and you basically can't erase that. You know, the damage is done. And that's the other terrifying thing just about social media and the, you know, this scarlet letter type of environment we live in.
My favorite thing about the Anthony Jeselnik, because you mentioned him, is that he and Owen Benjamin had like a little of a back and forth, and then Anthony Jeselnik blocked Owen Benjamin.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
Oh.
And of course, you know, Owen Benjamin's banned off of Twitter.
Yeah.
But yeah, Anthony Jeselnik now. So anytime I feel it's okay to do it, I'll just reply to him something Owen Benjamin related because he blocked him and he said, you know, you're not funny and you're a third-rate comic and all that bullshit. Yeah. So I'll joke around with him. Of course, he has a million followers. So, you know, I'm just, you know, some random tweet, but maybe one of these days we'll finally see it.
Yeah, that is ridiculous.
We'll have our own little battle.
Hey man, that's how you can get your fame. Twitter battles.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's like Eric Delay does fight a lot of people on Twitter.
Oh my God. I love him because he doesn't hold back, and he really does a good job of kind of telling, like, kind of putting what someone said to him and putting it back to him. Like, why'd you say it like this? Like, you're stupid. What are you talking about? Like the police, for example. You know, so all these white people are coming at me or, you know, defending me or whatever. You're saying that I'm the racist here? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I didn't see that one.
Well, it's something along those lines where
he's always like that.
Where, you know, Talib's
brings
saying
back
that
something that doesn't make, or like that looks like it's like a jab at him, and then he's like, well, this actually doesn't make any sense.
Right. Yeah, and oh my God, Talib's so stupid. I mean, he goes.
His engagement is weird. Like, he has like 1 million followers, right, on Twitter.
Oh yeah.
And then he's got like 2 or 3 likes.
Yeah, he won't.
Tweet.
Yeah,
like what?
Yeah, it's really sporadic.
Yeah, that's odd.
Yeah,
I mean, like, it's okay.
No, like with Tom Woods, for example, you know, he tweets all the time, and you know, good engagement for how many followers it has. But yeah, 1 million followers, 3 likes.
Yeah, it's really odd. I mean, it's also like surprised me, like where like Kanye randomly tweets and like will respond to random people in just the weirdest ways, and that's what I was blows away. Because if I was one of these people, especially now, I wouldn't be responding to anybody. And ever. I just like, it's not worth it. It's not worth the risk, not worth the time. And I'm amazed when they do. But it's also one of those things where they think that they are on the side of right. And it's, it's one of those things, man. 10 years ago, being on the side of right and what was permissible and what was not permissible was very different than today. And I just wait. I just wait with my, my hands perched, because I know that these people are going to have something's going to come out later where it's going to be found, or the climate's going to change. And now that tweet that they so innocently sent about whatever X, Y, and Z, little Miss Prairie Moffat, dirty limerick nursery rhyme or something like that, it's going to come back around and haunt them, and they're going to be like, "Oh, you're a pedophile." So all this, being said, Will Wheaton deactivated his Twitter account so we can all have a party and enjoy ourselves again.
I thought he came back.
Did he?
Yeah.
I don't know. All I know is that whole, I think on like August 17th or something, they're having
he was like, I'm going to protest by deactivating my account.
Yeah, it's a place for bigotry and hate. And I'm like, dude, your block list is probably like 1 million people.
Oh, totally.
It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I'm one of the people you blocked because I made fun of you because PewDiePie was laughing at something you said or something like that. I'm like, fuck you, dude. Gee.
Well, talking about the giant banning of Alex Jones, this is what I always found so amazing too about, like, number one, I'm very curious how they all coordinated it to happen the same day, because that tells you that it's not organic. Mm-hmm. It's not anything specific that Alex Jones did, because I mean, Alex Jones is definitely
out there,
conspiracy guy. Yeah, I mean, like, he throws some crazy shit out there, but I wouldn't say that he is anybody I would consider to be like bigoted, or at least I don't. And now, granted, I don't really watch his show that often, but I can't remember him ever saying anything that would be like, round up the Jews or anything like that. It's always like just conspiracy kind of crazy shit, but nothing that's ever really racist, nothing that's ever exceptionally sexist that I can think of. So, it's like, I was questioning this on my own show. I was like, number one, did he pull a Mel Gibson and get one of his conspiracies correct, and now they have to crack down on him? Or is it just like left-wing media that got together and said, all right, well, we have to shut him down because he's too much of a distraction?
Well, some people were saying too that because the midterms are coming up and all these elections that are coming up, they're saying that he might influence some people, whatever. But then also him being banned from these, all these different social media outlets and all that, it's kind of making him look better than,
because like, what are they trying to hide? Like, right. What are they don't want him to say,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
exactly. It's like, all right, well, clearly, if you say you guys are fake news and then you're forcing me off the air, well, that just, all it does is reinforce his supporters for sure. And yeah, it makes it look like he was onto something.
Yeah.
If he was really like a crazy guy or whatever, I mean, he is kind of crazy, but if they wanted to,
like a character, but
yeah. If they wanted to show that he was bigoted or whatever, they'd leave him there and let him say whatever he wants, and then people would be like, "Wow, this guy is a crazy idiot." And
totally. That's the beauty of free speech, right? Is that all these people that are trying to fight for censorship to shut down people that have a dissenting opinion or that don't like minority races. I mean, look what happened with the last Unite the Right rally, right? It had like 40 people. An embarrassment to the alt-right, embarrassment to the racists that put it together. And you say, okay, it had 400 the first time. Let them get out there, let them be exposed, let their ideas be criticized, let people say, oh, you guys are you're assholes, you're idiots. And then that way people will go away from that. If you censor it, then all they're going to do is keep living on in online communities or in smaller groups, or like they're going to stay in the shadows. I mean, just like mildew, man, get some sun on that, and that's the best way to expose it. And expose these people to other thought too. Interact with them, because like that first rally, I swear, I don't think half the people that went really knew what they were getting into. And then once they got out there and they saw these neo-Nazi, nutballs shouting, "The Jews will not replace us," they were like, you know what? Peace, I'm out. Fuck this. And if you don't have that rally, maybe they don't know that.
They probably saw, oh, they have tiki torches. I'll go out there too. I have a tiki torch.
Yeah, I hate mosquitoes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, or like, I mean, I'm probably a lot of them were just like, well, I believe in like, I don't know, like that white people can be proud of their race or something. Right. And then they got out there and they're like, okay, this is not.
Yeah, this is not exactly. Yeah, I'm not here to actually take action against anybody. I don't want an all-white society. I just don't want to be told I'm the evil in the world anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that you know, you can kind of understand why they think the way they are, because they're being, especially nowadays, they're being ridiculed so much. Like, you're terrible.
In the media,
yeah, you're evil. You suck. You're not bringing anything to society anymore. So why wouldn't they feel this way? Why wouldn't they want to unite and, you know, have this type of thought process?
Yeah.
You know?
No, exactly. Well, and it's like, and you do look at all the different programs that are to help diversity and help get people hired and get people jobs. And it's like, there's nothing out there for white people. And then, you know, especially in like the Rust Belt, middle of the country, where it's a lot of people that did grow up with the steel mills or whatever, you know, they have a factory and the town's based on that factory, and the factory closes. They are going to be very susceptible to Trump's language too. And you know, that's where you could see people buying into, okay, this, you know, blame these people for your woes. You know, America doesn't care about white people anymore. They care about this, because that's literally all the liberals have been pushing, is identity politics. So you could see where, yeah, it's easy for those people to kind of buy into this. But, you know, when they get out to that rally and they see I think it's a wake up call. Like I was saying, when you actually see the real rabid racist, I think it's a bit of a smelling salts type of thing.
Do you think Donald Trump is actually a racist, or do you think all that's pretty much just?
I think Donald Trump is as racist as any 70-year-old rich white man is. Now, you know, and because I think it's folly to say that no one is racist, that no one has preferences. Everybody has preferences. Everybody has experiences in their life. So, while I don't think Donald Trump is outwardly racist, I don't think he would consider himself a racist, or he would. He goes home at night and says, you know, those blacks really pissed me off today. You know, I just think he's a 70-year-old dude, and I'm sure he's had some shitty experiences with X, Y, and Z living in New York. So he might have his own preference or opinion, but no, I don't think he's a racist.
He definitely has his preference for women.
Yeah, he does. And that preference is stay around about 20 years and then get lost. I think that's Donald Trump's preference.
Oh, man, Melania Trump better watch out.
I know.
I know. Her expiration is got to be coming, man.
Oh, man.
And
I think she's actually a decent first lady.
Yeah,
you know, for what a first lady does. I don't know what they do, but
yeah, I mean, I don't know, photo ops, and hopefully she can revamp the school lunch system. You know, Michelle Obama put that whole thing in where I was like, starving America's children and giving them bologna and chicken.
So okay, so you live in California, in LA specifically, which I'm sorry, but how is it like, and I'm sure you get this question all the time, but you know, you call yourself a libertarian, or you are a libertarian, but you live in a, for sure, mostly liberal area. How is that? Like, how do you not want to just shoot yourself in the head sometimes? You're just like, why am I here?
It's tough, man. It's tough. Like, it's just, you know what it is a lot of, I find people I can talk to sometimes, but, and I've told them this, like I spoke at the LA convention recently, the local one here. And I told people, I was like, okay, you know, especially in LA, when I talk to people that I know are insanely progressive, and there's some people, one of my best friends, he was a groomsman in my wedding. I can't talk to him ever about politics. I've learned he's, you know, it's one of those people that he will just get angry because they're so progressives are so emotionally involved. So he just gets pissed off about everything. And I just like, okay, fuck it. But most people I say, okay, man, you know, I understand where you're coming from. I'm trying to find an issue that we can both agree on the end goal for. And the message I try to get to these people is to say, you know, I'm a libertarian. You may not like necessarily where I'm coming from, but factually, we can look at what you're doing as a progressive society, and we can see it's not working. We can see the amount of money being spent on welfare, on homelessness, the amount of taxation, and we keep seeing homelessness go up. We keep seeing the welfare level stay the exact same. I just want to try something different, but I respect your goals, you know? So in that way, I find I can try to talk to people, but yeah, it still really pisses me off when I walk down the street and all I hear people talking about this and that and all these liberal bullshit talking points when they know jack shit about anything financially, historically, and you know, they just want to feel good about themselves. It's basically a virtue signaling society that we live in. And the amazing thing is we have a lot of libertarians that live here now. It's crazy. Michael Bolden from 10th Amendment Center lives in LA. Jason Stapleton, become friends with that. I just moved out here a few months. He lives here now. You know, my buddy Mark, other Line of Liberty, he lives here now. And yeah, it's just very surprising how many people. But I guess it's like, you know, you move here because of the entertainment industry, which is why I'm here. Mark moved here for that same reason. I just end up staying.
Well, I guess you're more free than New York, so you got that going for you.
For now, we'll see. For now, man. Although, hey, if Larry Sharpe can win as mayor of New York, that would be a hell of a thing.
Yeah, I think that would definitely be a step in the right direction for sure.
Amazing. I think he's running he might even be running second right now. I think he's ahead. I think he might even be ahead of the GOP candidate at the moment.
Oh man, I don't know. I guess I'm more pessimistic on kind of those things, but even if he just gets second, that's a big step in that, because I mean, obviously Andrew Cuomo is a fucking dirtbag.
He's the worst.
He's got a lot of money in that too, so he could win by spending money.
He's 100% going to run for president. If he doesn't run for president, that will be the shock of a lifetime.
Oh yeah, he's
yeah.
Larry was nailing that talking point. I think he was on like Power 98, and he's like trying to do a Larry Sharpe impression. He's like Cuomo's just gonna he's putting money together for president. I guarantee he's gonna run for president. Yeah, that's my best Larry Sharpe. Yeah, and God bless Larry Sharpe, by the way. I love Larry. But yeah, I without a doubt, Cuomo's running for president, and Larry is getting some major media exposure though. Like he's getting more media exposure than any libertarian I've ever seen in a regional campaign. I mean, yeah, he was on the Rubin Report, which is awesome. He's on LA, New York's local media stations, which is awesome. So I don't know, man. Don't count him out. He's a smart guy. And I think if he ever got to debate Cuomo, which I don't think Cuomo will ever do, he would really make him look like the fucking buffoon that he is. And it'd be glorious. It would be like a Ron Paul Giuliani moment.
Oh, that'd be
I hope
great,
that
right?
happens. That'd be so great.
So you're saying that America is at fault for what happened in 9/11? No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying maybe our policies are the reason why they're wanting to attack us in the first place. Oh man, it's kind of, and I feel bad though, because I didn't like get to that point when I saw that. I was like, oh, that's an interesting point, but I didn't think, oh my god, I don't know, Ron Paul. Yeah, but, I guess for some people it kind of gets to them.
A lot of people, that was their moment, their liberty.
That was my moment. Yeah, that was. I mean, I was already a supporter of his, but that's the one that really stands out of my mind as just like getting off the couch and being like, yeah. Because I was door to door with Mark, like my buddy here. We went door to door, and I tell you, that was frustrating in LA because we were, getting people, and people already don't want to talk to you when you're at the door for any reason. I hate people coming to my door. But, when you're like, oh, have you heard of Ron Paul? And, half of them are like, fuck Ron Paul. And the other half, though, you actually have Democrats and Republicans. They go, I actually really like him. He has very smart ideas. I agree with him in foreign policy, but I'm not going to vote for him because he's not going to win. Right. Which that was the most aggravating thing I could hear, because it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And that's so much of America today, by the way, too, is just that these assholes that cling to the two-party system, it's not because of really any ethical or moral quandary that they're in, or a dedication to fiscal responsibility, which of course is neither party anymore. But it's just all about like, I want to be on the winning side. And you see that play out in polls now too, where people that are Democrats who voted for Hillary, they want to see the economy fail just because they don't want Donald Trump to be right. And like, how fucked is that? They'd rather be poorer. They'd rather have people suffer. They'd rather have everyone worse off just so their ego doesn't take a hit and they can be right.
Yeah.
Isn't that like peak first world problems, right?
Right. Yeah. No shit. Oh, by the way, real quick, did you guys saw the Crazy Rich Asians movie? I read one review and it said like one of the funnier lines in the movie, and I laughed reading it, was Ken Jeong's like the father, right? And they're all sitting down to dinner. Yeah. And,
one of the relatives. I can't remember exactly what he is exactly, but
I think he's like the relative to Awkwafina.
Maybe it's the dad of her. I can't remember.
Exactly. I guess it was some dinner they were having, and they're all sitting down. And in Singapore, right, which is like insanely rich. Right. And he goes, now remember to eat all your food, kids. There's children starving in America. Yeah, that's a fucking funny line. Like I laughed my ass off at that. But yeah, otherwise it's so first word problems. But that was pretty funny.
Oh man, I was gonna say something. I can't remember what it was.
Was it about Crazy Rich Asians?
No, it was some different.
About polls.
No, I can't remember where it was now, but maybe I'll remember it. But anyway, I wanted to kind of going off topic again, but I wanted to ask you about antitrust laws. I know it's a completely random topic, but I hear this phrase all the time, but I'm not really sure what it is. Do you have more of an idea of what it is?
Well, I mean, I can just give you a general opinion on antitrust laws and anti-monopoly laws. It's just that they're all idiotic bullshit. They're no purpose. And you can look at throughout history, anytime you had an antitrust or an anti-monopoly, like for the railroads, for the oil industry, they were trying to do that for Microsoft, for instance, where they said, okay, Microsoft's gotten too big. They can control the pricing because they have the market share. They can push out competitors. They can eliminate whatever, softwares or hardwares they want to. So they try to put this stuff into motion. And every single time, by the time it actually comes to fruition, by the time the lawsuits are over, by the time the bills are put in place, this antitrust bill or whatever they're putting in place of the government, every single time a competitor has risen up to take down the monolith that provided a better service. Because de facto, when a company gets so big like that, you're going to have breakdowns in efficiency. You're going to have breakdowns in service that they're providing to their customers. And you're going to have people that go, they're making so much money. I want some of that fucking money. And they're going to find a way to have a better product and take them down. And that's what we've seen time and time again. Microsoft got taken down. Apple now is the big dog. They're going to get taken down. You see with the oil industry, you see competitors come in. You see the same thing with phones. You see the same thing with every single possible offering. So yeah, any antitrust legislation that's put into place is completely irrelevant, should not exist, because the market will solve that faster and more efficiently than the government can. And it's historically proven.
Okay, so how would the market actually make that work exactly then? Like, what's the specific details of how that would work?
Well, it's just, I mean, again, like it's just by virtue of capitalism and by virtue of the market, like, again, if you take any company, any industry, right? We'll use use cable industry, for example, right? A lot of people have one cable provider and they hated that cable provider. And you have all this talk about breaking up the cable monopolies because, they shouldn't have one cable operator. But what do we see happening now? We see people get sick to shit of paying one cable operator, having one choice for what they can get. So you have satellite companies pop up and offer different offerings. You now have, with the benefit of online, you've got a million different offerings popping up to provide different smaller channel options that you can just stream. You've got your Hulus, you got your Netflix. So you're seeing the free market come up, wherein instead of saying, okay, well, the government's going to break up this cable monopoly, so we have 15 different little cable companies all fighting against each other. What we see is that the free market has provided alternatives to customers faster, that are better. And you're seeing people now leave cable in droves to go for these other options. And once one of those gets too big, you're going to see something else come in and take it down. It's just that's the beauty of the free market, because anytime you have money that's in an industry that's dominating that badly, there's going to be weakness, and you're going to have people that want some of the piece of the pie. So that's like, say that to get into the specifics of it, it's really just relying on human nature and ingenuity to come up and build a better mousetrap. And that's the core of it. And like I said, it's just, there's no example where it hasn't worked.
So it's basically people trusting the government more than innovation in people.
Correct. Yeah. People putting their faith. But even then, that's the funny thing is, even if they, the government has that power. They already possess this antitrust, anti-monopoly power. It's already within a government purview. But by the time they need to use it, it's already too late for that company. Somebody takes them down.
Typical government. Yeah. Always too late for something. Taking too long with something.
Right? Taking too long, yeah.
The only thing the government's ever efficient at is starting wars. That's about the only thing they're really Johnny on the spot about.
Well, I saw this this picture. I think Paul Joseph Watson tweeted it. It was something along the lines of like, the snake, from like the "Don't Tread on Me" type flag, whatever. And it was being stomped on by a boot, and it had all these corporations on it. And they said, well, at least it wasn't the government that's doing this to me. So I think he's saying that because of all the stuff that's happening with Twitter.
Censorship, yeah.
All that. Yeah. So obviously, the corporations are having this power of, okay, well, this is, that old private company thing, and they have the power to do that. So why is it different for them when they do it than when a government does it? What's the difference?
Well, I guess the difference for me would be that if it's a private company, you can usually provide another service offer that provides that service or something that is relatively on par with that service that might not be partaking in the same practices that you object to. You know, like, for example, you're seeing, and I love this, you're seeing a lot of people now share this meme about Tom from MySpace. And it's, have you seen this meme? Good old Tom never censored us, never banned us, wasn't spying on us, wasn't selling our data, wasn't conspiring with the government. So you're going to see somebody pop up and go for it. But that's the benefit of having private companies is you can leave a private company. You can vote with your dollars. Whereas good luck trying to vote with your dollars and leave the United States to go somewhere else. I mean, yes, you can choose from other governments. You might be able to go to Liechtenstein. I think they've got a lovely little king who is a libertarian. But, you know, you still, though, have a government that even if you try to leave and expatriate, you still have to pay taxes to your original country, which is madness. You know, it's like they have their claws in you. So that's where, you know, if we're comparing private versus government, I think it's a lot easier to make your choice and find more options that can provide a similar level of service within the private company.
So based on what you said earlier, do you think that within the next couple of years, there's going to be like a pop-up of a new social media that comes up? You know,
you're already seeing it with Discord a little bit. With Discord a little bit's coming up. You know, I was trying to convince a buddy of mine to let me take over his platform. He has a platform called T-Blog, TBLOG, which was a social, you know, sharing platform that got popular maybe 10 years ago. And now it's just kind of sitting there. And I was like, dude, make it a free speech, anti-censorship platform. I mean, it will rise up. And I think also, you know, there'll be somebody that pledges like, we will not share your data with the government. And that's where there's one thing, especially with regards to Facebook or any of these other entities that are working hand in hand with the government. That's where I think that you actually might have a case for a lawsuit, against, say, an anti-discrimination or anti-censorship lawsuit, because they're no longer working solely as a private company if they are now working in conjunction with the government. You know, like Facebook working with the FBI, for instance. So if we're not considering Facebook an extension of the FBI, now there's questions as to whether or not they can be considered a true private company. And if so, then they should have to abide by the same rules and First Amendment laws that the government does. So they should not be able to censor you.
They need to make the social network part 2, where, you know, Mark Zuckerberg's in that Senate hearing.
I didn't watch the first one. I would watch that movie though.
The first movie is amazing. It's probably
the first movie was really good.
Yep.
Yeah, it's funny. There's a sequel. There's no sequel. We call it the first movie. But anyway,
yeah, I know.
The social.
We already accepted that it will be made.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're right.
We're gonna plan out the second one, and then we're gonna make our own company and release it.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly. And in the free market, you can go and just do it right on your own channel right here.
You know, it's funny. Whenever someone gets mad that, oh, the free market's going to take care of it. Wow, how fake. And then someone gives them an example, and then they don't say anything back. They're like, oops, I guess I was foiled on that one.
Yeah.
How many times do you get into because you were saying that you have a friend who's, you know, you can't talk politics, but you have, other than Mark, of course, but, you know, friends that you can talk politics that you don't agree with 100%.
There's a decent amount out here I've found over time. You know, it's also one of those things though, and this is one of the things in the Trump era that was so confusing, is people like severing ties with people they were friends with for years. Because, you know, I have friends that I made over the years. It's been like 15 years now. So I've got friendships that run pretty deep, and those people still respect me enough as a person where I can say, okay, look, we can disagree, but you can at least listen to my opinion and I can listen to your opinion. I think now people try not to talk politics with me because I do so much more involved in it now. I think people they don't want to mess because they know like the knowledge base is far deeper on me, so they stay away. But those that do talk, I find that, you know, if you have mutual respect, you can still communicate pretty well. And, you know, even our Lions of Liberty, it's all like a lot of my friends from college now too, and a few of them were avowed progressives. You know, one guy, JB Lubin, who's on our show, he was a real progressive honk, and he has now completely come over to libertarianism. But that happened over time. That happens just being open and not having a closed mind to ideas. I mean, the biggest challenge to all this is the ego. Like we're talking about with the Trump poll thing. If people can get past their ego, and especially in LA, that's a question mark, because there's a lot of goddamn actors out here and they're all sons of bitches.
Right.
But if people can check their ego and not identify so solidly with like, I have to be right about this, and my ego identifies as progressive and open to the fact that there's another way to better help people, that's where you can really connect with people. And then once you just get that little crack in there of like, I might not be right on this. As much as I want to feel right, I may not be right. Then you can really start to have real conversations with people.
Yeah, I'm sure for your friend there who went from, very big government to as small government as possible, that's a huge change.
Oh, yeah. Well, I remember we had him on when he was still kind of halfway. Maybe he was still 3/4 progressive, but we were talking about the Second Amendment and gun control. And, it kind of reminds me of talking to Eric July, actually, because Eric July was sharing the story with me. He goes, how I came to be a libertarian was I would get in arguments with people and they would just beat the shit out of me every time because they just knew more than me and I was wrong. And that kind of happened with this gun control debate with me and my buddy live on the podcast one point, where it just was at every point, like beating down the progressive logic on it. And that's, I think, what really won him over. Because like I said, once you know you are wrong on one thing, then you're like, what else am I wrong about? And losing arguments sucks. So
yeah,
educate themselves.
But I think even if you lose an argument, you don't have to necessarily take that as, well, I'm the worst person now and my ideas are terrible. Well, I guess it depends on what the idea is, but
yeah.
But I mean, you can lose an argument or whatever, but then take that as a learning experience and be like, okay, maybe I need to do more research, see if maybe what I'm saying is wrong, or maybe I am right, but I just didn't say it right, or didn't elaborate enough to where someone can understand what I'm trying to say, or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, no, very, very true. And it's also, but you also get the other side of the coin too. When somebody loses an argument, is that, like you're saying, sometimes people say, well, either I lost because I didn't know this, or I need to sharpen my argument, or I'm wrong. But you also have people that go, all right, I lost that argument, but that guy's a dickhead and he's still wrong. And it doesn't matter. And I'm never going to believe what he says. And that's like my one buddy who I don't talk to about politics anymore was in that vein. And that happens a lot too. I mean, I've had a lot of conversations that just, I could have 50 books of proof, and it wouldn't matter. It actually wouldn't matter. And that's a lot of people in LA, to be honest.
Yeah. And that's Twitter too.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah, exactly. As soon as you make the counter argument, they're like, "I block you."
No, it's like you're a Russian agent. You're a Nazi.
Right? Yeah.
It's like you're just name calling me now. You lost.
Oh my God. This one woman I'm friends with, and God bless her, she's a sweet lady, but just posted some dumb shit about Trump, and then it's like every comment's just like, "Oh, he's owned by Putin. Is a Nazi." Like, God damn it, get off of this shit. What are you talking? The Russian thing is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life, by the way.
I can't believe people actually believe that.
I know. What, people are so delusional. Like, there's still no evidence. It's going on for 2 years now, or 3 years. Like, what? Nothing's come of this. Get off of it.
Like, what the hell?
Yeah, it's like when he was talking to Kim Jong-un, like, oh my God, he's talking to a dictator. How dare you? And then, of course, then he talked to Putin. Everyone wanted to, oh my God, I got to shot my bomb to myself. I can't believe this happening.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we've gotten, hopefully. Well, and meanwhile, Trump actually, though, when you look at the sanctions, he's like more hawkish on Russia than almost anybody as far as sanctions go. He's like really, I mean, which I'm not a fan of. I hate sanctions because it just hurts the populace anyway. But yeah, man, and he's gotten North Korea's denuclearizing. That's great.
You think he's more harsh because he is trying to prove that he's not colluding?
That might be why. Yeah, but. I mean, shit, but meanwhile, nobody wants to talk about the fact that he's putting all these crazy sanctions on him. It's still just like he's Putin's man boy toy. And that's another thing I love too, the left, is everybody's, all these progressives who say they're for trans rights and LGBTQ rights and gay rights. Then they're going out there saying, Trump's Putin's bitch boy. And, Trump and Putin, they're putting all these cartoons of them being gay together. And they're like, you guys aren't seeing there's a double standard you're living by here? It's okay. Oh yeah, you're for gay rights, except now you want to say that Trump's less manly because he's gay with Putin. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we'll have to go ahead and end it, but I do want to ask you one more question, and I wanted to ask you, like, how did Lions of Liberty come about, and what kind of motivated you to, and you and your team there to create Lions of Liberty?
Yeah, no problem. So Lions of Liberty, like I said, we all went to Penn State, the core group. It's me, Mark Claire, and John Odermatt. And we all were living in LA for the time, and it was when Ron Paul was coming up, and Mark had been inspired by another fraternity brother of ours named Howie Snowden, who was like a congressional page, and then he was in the military, and then had really come around and heard of Ron Paul, had met him when he was doing his paging work, and just was blown away by how honest he was and, his message. And so he introduced Mark to Ron. Mark made me aware of him. It was coming up, getting like that 2008 period. And I just became hooked. And then Mark started doing the podcast. We had a website for a long time, which we would just do kind of in-depth breakdowns on news pieces or think pieces, which you can still find if you want to go back 2 years at lionsofliberty.com. But we got a lot of traction with that, and we started sharing it on the Daily Paul. I don't know if you guys are younger than me, so you may not remember the Daily Paul. But
oh, you have
chat board.
Than you.
Oh man.
No, it was a chat board where it was all just Ron Paul news and libertarians. So we got some traction on there, and then from the Lions of Liberty podcast, just kind of grew it. My show is about a little over a year old now. The original show is like 5 years old, and then John Odermatt's Felony Fridays, looking at the criminal justice system, is like 2 years old. So it's just been really encouraging. Once you get into that, spreading the ideas of liberty, and you guys know this, just when you get people to actually start thinking about it, and you can see a little bit of change happening in the way people are conversing, and I do think that there's an opportunity to be had now with the amount of people that hate Trump, with the Democrats just eating themselves alive. I think that there's a good opportunity for us to work and spread the message. And it's just encouraging. The libertarian community is a really supportive, smart group of people. So when you get the encouragement from them, it really keeps you going.
All right. Well, on that note, we'll go ahead and end it. Thank you so much, Brian, for joining us. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was awesome. Sorry, like I said, sorry, my other computer with the better angle, it wasn't working. So you got a little bit darker up nose shot, but
we'll have to do it again then.
Yeah, I'll do it again. Yeah.
Yes, most definitely. I'd love to.
Yeah. So we'll definitely get that scheduled sometime. But again, thanks, Brian, for joining us, and everyone else that's watching. Have a good night, everyone.
All right.
Yep. Bye.
I gotta find the stop button.